My name is Chrystal Bonzo, and I stand before you as the Her Voice Fund Ambassador for Zimbabwe, but I'm also representing the other 4 ambassadors who couldn't join us for this special event. So I'm going to be talking about the ethical engagement of AGYW in Global Fund GC7 processes that happened in Zimbabwe, Lesotho, Eswatini, Malawi, and Mozambique. So the background is, we're all aware that Southern Africa has the highest HIV prevalence when it comes to adolescent girls and young women, and this creates increased HIV acquisition. And to also add on to this, meaningful and ethical, sorry, there's a glitch. The monitors are off, yeah? Awesome. So as I was saying, we're all aware that meaningful and ethical engagement of AGYW coupled with inclusive decision-making is critical to achieving the eradication of HIV in Southern Africa when it comes to adolescent girls and young women. So as I mentioned, I'm here with the Her Voice Fund, which is an initiative that deliberately invests in developing leadership capabilities of young women and girls so that they can be present, they can be heard and seen when it comes to decision-making processes, both in national and international forums. So our approach included the 4 things where we were very deliberate in working with adolescent girls, young women in leading the consultations, and this was led by the Her Voice Fund ambassadors that are not present at this engagement. It was data-driven to prepare adolescent girls and young women for consultations with engagements when it comes to Global Fund GC7 processes. The approaches were also representative and inclusive, and when we say AGYW in all their diversities, we literally mean in all their diversities. We were working with young women living with HIV, adolescent girls living with disabilities, young women who sell sex in their diversity as well. And then lastly, we used different participatory methodology, which included both cafe activities, role-playing, sticky notes, all the things that make it fun for young women and girls to be educated in an interactive way. So I'm going to be presenting the findings in the 5 countries. And the first one is Lesotho, where 10 districts were involved that were talking to AGYWs in their diversity, but this was conducted over a 2-day session. The workshops were interactive, and the agenda was to review the GC7 processes, educating the participants on how they can contribute. And then what was more exciting about Lesotho is we actually then made smaller groups that focused on young women living with disabilities so that they could also have opportunities to be in spaces that are inclusive and accessible. The lessons we learned there from Lesotho is that when AGY leaders are educated, equipped, they are able to participate in global fund fundraising processes, and they actually went on to be part of the proposal writing team. In Malawi, AGYW was engaged with local community-based organizations that provided education and access to HIV prevention resources. Key insights included gender-sensitive approaches that allow for AGY to make informed decisions about their health. In Malawi, the lessons we learned that combining HIV medical interventions with community engagement and education is key to eradicating HIV amongst AGYW. In Mozambique, we engaged 70 AGYW ages between 15 and 24 from 5 provinces with the support of the Her Voice Fund. We utilized the participatory method where some sessions were done in person and virtually. The insights were to ensure meaningful engagement of AGYW in GC7 processes such as accountability and grant-making processes. The lessons we learned in Mozambique was increased commitment to capacity strengthening and power sharing between adult decision makers, and AGY is needed to make collaborative efforts to end HIV amongst AGYW. In Eswatini, we conducted consultations with diverse AGYW using active participatory methods. And again, in Eswatini, we're able to have the team be present in the Global Fund request writing proposal. The lessons we learned in Eswatini is that Meaningful engagement requires active participation in AGY, especially when it comes to programming. For example, having the opportunity of AGY participate in country coordination meetings. And in Zimbabwe, we engaged 25 AGYW ages 17 and 30. We used a participatory method where we were engaging with AGYWs, and our aim there was to provide background education on global fund processes and how AGYW can be involved. We noted that in Zimbabwe, the existing cultural and structural power sharing dynamics were a hindrance in completing some of the activities. The lessons learned in Zimbabwe is it is essential to provide learning education before engaging AGYW so that they are able to contribute meaningfully. Before I move on to the recommendations, I just want to pause everyone for a minute and stay with me. Imagine you're working, you're a student, and you're told last minute that you need to show up for a meeting, that you need to prepare the talking points, you need to prepare a presentation, and this comes at the 11th hour. I'm sure we've all been there, and when you show up, are you going to be effective? Are you going to be meaningfully engaged with the conversation? And if you don't show up, people won't take you seriously. So that was the issues when we were dealing with the GC7 processes, that there has to be a commitment to power sharing between adult policymakers and institutions when it comes to meaningfully engaging adolescent girls and young women. And then secondly, ethical engagement should not only include AGYW when it comes to national and international forums such as the GC7 processes, but it should extend further beyond the processes that are ongoing so that we can all end AIDS by 2030. I would like to acknowledge the following for making this initiative, this research possible. All the AGYW across the 5 countries I've mentioned for sharing their time, their perspectives, and experiences with us. The respective Her Voice Fund country ambassadors and country leads in absentia. I want to thank Her Voice Fund for investing in adolescent young girls and women for leadership opportunities. I want to thank Y Plus Global, the Global Fund, as well as UNICEF, ESARO. Thank you very much.